Comprehensive School Improvement Plan.
So if he says, look out, you'll have plenty of time to get out of the way.
Right. Mr. Ken
Do the math.
Yes,
Seagard will be
yes,
present
he
to
did.
begin the process for the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan, the CSIP.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice to be back here with you again. I have to say that the fun part about coming to board meetings is getting to see videos like that, because you really see why, kind of why we're all here. And it was good to see where my college typewriter ended up too. So good it's getting some use. So we start tonight on a bit of a journey. A journey that shouldn't be overly long and shouldn't be overly complicated, but should end with a document that doesn't require a degree in education to understand. I think the work that we have done on comprehensive school improvement plans that have been the most successful have been ones that an average citizen could pick up and understand and be engaged by. And so we are beginning that process tonight. What we have found is that you sort of have a choice. The choice is just get it over with, or really get together and get a committee together that's willing to kind of roll up their sleeves and think about the future of the district. Think about where they'd like the district to go. And obviously we recommend the latter, because not only does it produce a very good, very workable document that you can use going forward, but it also gets the community engaged. And if you can't get the community engaged in this process, that's really quite a big challenge. What we need to do to start, however, is I would like to hear from you, and then we'll talk about timelines and things like that, but I'd like to hear from you what success will look like. When we get done with the end of this process, what do you think would be evidence that we have been successful, that the committee has been successful in creating a plan that is workable? And I'm taking out my pen and taking notes. So share, if you would, share with me some thoughts. What does it look like?
Well, I'd like to, at the end, for the community to feel that we really pulled a good cross-section
Okay.
of people in, not just parents of students, you know, but a really good cross-section of the community was involved in the making of the plan.
Okay, great. What else?
You know, I think at one level, we want a plan that really pushes us to continue to succeed. I'd like to see some really sort of innovative ideas come from the group of what the school district should look like in 5 years, and maybe even a little visionary thinking beyond that, so we can start sort of plowing that path. I mean, we've been successful doing that with the facilities plan, and we just sort of as a board have continued to march through that. So what does it look like from a facilities point of view, a programmatic point of view, and really what is it that the community wants the schools to be doing for the youth in 5 years and 10 years?
Doing from an educational standpoint, doing
I
from
think we
a
need-
life skills standpoint?
I think it needs to be broader than just education. I think it is about life skills. It's about educating the whole child. So what does that look like in Rolla, Missouri?
Okay.
Where you've got a really diverse group of people and different ethnic cultures coming out of our school. That's going to continue to change and probably grow.
We're meeting all their needs.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have talents and energies that are hopefully coming together with this group, and I would like to kind of know where are we going to focus all of that talent and all that energy for the betterment of the entire community of Rolla in our education system.
Great, what else?
Well, I'd kind of like to know what improvement means to folks. You know, is it test scores? Is it dropout rate? Is it kids that go to college? What's important to people, and what should be important to us about improvement?
That's a good one, because sometimes I think what we think is important isn't maybe what
Right.
we need to hear. We need to hear
Mhm.
what, you know, what is important to them, you know, those people that have children in our schools, because that's why we're here.
Yeah, numerically and otherwise,
Right.
what is important to them?
Right.
What are their measures of success?
Yes.
Okay.
think for me, when we get done,
Mm-hmm.
I hope to see a consensus from all those that were involved in the process that they like what they've done. They're in agreement with it and they can stand behind it.
Key word there.
That their input has been respected and heard.
Right, and they've listened to other people's input, and so what they see in the plan, they can agree with.
Okay.
Well, a clear target, not only that the board and administration understands what the target is, but something that we can convey back out to the community. Here's what you've told us. Our understanding is you want this done. Not vague, not sort of this, but a pretty clear, concise, here's a few areas that are very, very direct that we need to be focused on.
And the time schedule of those. Right.
Exactly.
And what and when.
And how are we going to know? What are the milestones that will tell us that we're
Exactly.
there or getting there? So, got it. Anything else?
I think it would be good if this process could sort of be a launching point for different and ongoing, but in different ways, community engagement in the school system. Not just gather people to do a task and then disband, but build on that, and that's one of the challenges, I think, when Keith used the word challenges. But I think it's easy to rest on your laurels when you're doing a good job, but this process tells everyone it's continuous school improvement. So I think challenging ourselves in that respect.
Keep them engaged.
But keep the community engaged, get the families more engaged.
Careful what you
Sort
say
of
on
gets
paper.
to the idea of just get it done versus
Right.
make it a really
Right.
review document.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Right, I'll pass around. There were 11, I counted. So pass around the draft timeline and sort of go through the process with you, sort of generally, but also step by step in critical areas. You will see there are 3 columns on this document. One is the step, one is the responsible party, and one is a date. And the dates are, with the exception of May 15, when you get the final document. It's been through the mill and has been tested in the community. They are all week of, and we will work to obviously narrow that down, but this gives you an idea. And it's important as you look at our name there under the responsible party in certain places, we're going to begin with active facilitation and move a little bit further back as the process goes on, as we get committees active, we get co-chairs active. This has got to be your plan. This has got to be your committee's plan. And we're there to set the table and make sure that they're heading in the right direction and offer counsel from experience that we have, but not to lead things. So you'll see at the top, we've got more active involvement. We're going to be at all of the full-scale committee meetings, the CSIP committee meetings. The subcommittees are going to be working on their own, but the first one will be very actively involved, and then again, we'll step back. But first, we need to finalize the list. I know you all are thinking about individuals who would be a good fit with that document that was presented at your last meeting. And then we'll work with Dr. Zalis to find some dates for those 3 formal committee meetings with the whole committee, and we'll get that done next week and get invitations sent out next week. The folks that are willing to participate and are willing to participate and commit to at least 75% attendance. Now, I said that's hard to do with 3 meetings. The 4th one is after they hear the, I'm in front of a math teacher, and she's going, how do we get 75% out of 3? The 4th one will be after the plan has been tested, and we come back and we get together and we say, okay, the community and focus groups said, need a little more here, need a little less here. So actually 4 meetings, 3 working, and the 4th one is to finalize things. So they have to be able to commit to 75%, so we'll get the dates down, because it really doesn't work if they show up for 1 meeting or 2 meetings. Once we get that, we'll obviously collect the contact information. Then we will send out a very short survey that says, here are the subcommittees and here's what they're going to do. What is your particular area or areas of interest? So that we go into that first formal meeting with the whole group sort of knowing who our subcommittees are, because you don't want to be spending a whole lot of time as we're trying to lay out the work, having people volunteer at that location or at that time saying, well, I'd like to be on that committee. We want that done before they sit down and we start our work. We'll determine the leadership of the CSIP. Ideally, it would be one community member and a school district representative. The school district representative in a co-chair format would be there to provide sort of subject matter expertise and provide a linkage to people who would have subject matter expertise. So if we get into an area where the committee makes a suggestion and we really need somebody who has sort of inside information or has access to that, that's why it's good to have a co-chair. The committee person, actually the community person rather, would be sort of the lead co-chair, if that makes any sense. But a school district person is there to provide that kind of a reality check. So we'd have that, those people identified, subcommittee leadership identified, and then our first meeting, where we really get together and we talk about what the end result's going to be, and they will get in advance what you've shared with me tonight. So they'll know what the goal is, they'll know what the how open you are to new ideas, and we'll really kind of get them energized. And once we set the table at that first meeting, they're going to break up into their subcommittees, start talking about dates, start talking about initial thoughts, and then it's up to them to have their subcommittee meetings over the next 2 weeks. We come back, we have another full-scale meeting. We say, how are you doing? What additional information do you need, perhaps from the district? Do you have any questions or concerns? They walk away. They have another subcommittee meeting in the 2 weeks that follow that. And they come back with what they believe is their final plan for their subcommittee at the third meeting. We, meaning Patron Insight, puts that all together, and then we conduct a series of focus groups with members of the community. And again, the idea behind those focus groups is to say, here's what the committee that's been working on this for about 2.5 months has come up with. Where are we reaching too far? Where are we not reaching far enough? What do you wish was on here that isn't on here? That's the reality check. Because these folks in 2.5 months are going to really be immersed in this. And we want to make sure that it has legs out in the community. So we want to get out there and we want to find out, does this make sense? Then we come back with a report that we've written to the full committee and say, okay, here's what they said. And the committee can accept all of the recommendations from the community. They can accept some, they can modify the document, and then they come back to you with a final document, as you can see at your May 15 meeting. So it is a 4-month, essentially, process, but they're working a lot. They have a meeting, a full-scale committee meeting every 3 weeks, 3 of them, and then a subcommittee meeting between those meetings. So they're going to have a total of 6 meetings before we have the final, this is it. And so we really do need people who are engaged and energized and want to be a part of this, want to bring ideas, and as was said here, want to listen to other ideas too, are open to other ideas as well. And then we worry a little bit less at this part about what it actually looks like. We really want them thinking more in terms of ideas, strategies, tactics, those kinds of things, and timetables. And we'll work through the process of getting a look that is effective. Again, there are a lot of ways to skin that cat, and we'll figure that out as we go on and get the committee's advice too, because they're the ones who are going to be creating this. We're just going to be there kind of waving a baton and making sure they're heading and doing the work that is really focused on getting the project done and having good, stimulating conversation, give and take. So it's exciting. It's critical to have people that are really going to be engaged in this process, and I'd much rather pull the reins than have to crack the whip. So as you think about your final list, it's okay to have, we want a mixture of fans and critics in the room, because they're the ones that the meshing of their ideas is what's going to push us forward, what's going to give us the big, exciting ideas, and really get a plan that people will look at and say, they put in some good work. They put in some good work and have some really interesting ideas. So that's the thinking.
I like it.
Questions?
In your experience, what's the most efficient way for a district to decide who to invite to be on this? I mean, let's say, for instance, each board member submitted 10 names. You don't want 70 people.
No.
So what's the best way of paring a list down? I know it's usually harder to find enough people than it is paring down too many, but what's the best way for the list to be decided upon?
I think it's important to look at that from that document from the last meeting. Look at it by category, and start by saying, I need to have, making this up, I need to have 6 people that fit in each category, because I'll probably end up with 3 that say yes.
Yeah.
Because we want to have, make sure it's a cross-section of current district parents, non-parents, past parents, community leaders. It's okay, it doesn't have to be perfectly balanced. In other words, we don't need 3 in each one, but it sure would be important to have at least 1 or 2 community leaders if we can't get 3 or 4. It sure would be important to have 1 or 2 what we call never parents, if we can't get 3 or 4, because they're the ones, particularly when we get to issues of spending money and building things, if their voice isn't heard in this process, it will be heard down the road. So it's a matter of saying, here's our top group that we'd like, and go for them first, and then always have a backup plan. The ideal number would be somewhere 25 to 35, so that we have the subcommittees that are really a working subcommittee instead of a, where you need to put bleachers in for subcommittee meetings.
Ken, who selects? I mean, they're all going to submit those names, and then
When's the?
who selects? I'm trying to get out of having to do that myself, I guess.
Who should?
Who pairs the list
Who
now?
pairs the list
Oh,
now?
who
I've
decides?
had,
You can give that to me. You can send that to me and identify that person based on those categories in that previous document. And I can send that to you again. Say, this is a person. And that actually would be good, because then I'm going to look at it randomly.
correct.
And when you get our pick, you can say, boy, these are all fans. These are all raving fans, so we need to sort things through, as opposed to the district doing it and having people say, well, I know exactly why you put those people on it. It's the same reason we do random phone calling.
Right.
And people can't say, I want to be called or I don't want to be called. We don't know who we're calling. So
So
therefore, that's.
you need specific contact information for each person that's submitted,
Yes.
like mailing address, phone number.
Now, the invitation, and email, you're right. The invitation has to come from the district,
Right.
because we're not,
No.
we're unknown. But once
Yeah.
they say yes, then we kind of open that door, and we can start communicating. And Dr. Zalis and I talked about having someone from an administrative support position who can, there's certain details here, like when we have a meeting, where are we going to have it, and will there be chairs there? Obviously, that has to take place. Someone in the district's going to have to be in.
Everybody looks fancy.
And I believe that person is in the room, apparently, yes. So those are kind of details that are not going to be laborious, but meetings don't work as well when the lights are out and there's no chairs to sit on. I've just found that to be the
So
case.
if we have ideas, we send them to Dr. Zalis, and then he will compile all those names, send them to you?
Yes,
Okay.
that'd be great.
I'm not editing anything. I'm sending him the raw information, so. I just
still
want it very
have-
clear that I'm not guiding this process.
I don't know. No.
Would you rather someone else in
No,
the district?
no.
Okay.
I'm looking at who from administration might serve on that, and thinking Mr. Hounson was probably the logical choice, given that he's done CC
moved.
before. But we haven't had that discussion yet.
Sounds like we just
Well,
did.
no, quite frankly, Ken, there were questions that were asked of me, as I handed out the preliminary document last week, or last board meeting, that I didn't want to answer, didn't know how to answer, because we were waiting for you to be here to be able to facilitate the timeline. I just assured them that we would have all that. What I'm personally excited about is I get to back up and listen. And I think there's great value in that, that's not being coached, or I'm excited to learn a lot through the process myself.
It is always engaging when the community gets together and kind of dreams.
Mhm.
And that's the beauty, again, of we start here and then we take one step back, we take one step back. We just make sure they're moving toward a conclusion.
Right.
But we don't direct this, we just kind of make
Do
sure.
you
they're-
see the meetings, the main committee meetings happening in this room?
That's up to the district. It would be, I think it would be better maybe in a,
This is
More-
not a real collaborative room.
no. Yeah,
Like
we need to be
junior-
able to kind of move chairs around. Once we get through the introductory, here's why we're here, here's what we're doing,
Just
here's what
secure
the
the-
objectives are.
Junior high
Now,
cafeteria.
getting your subcommittees would be better, probably.
Junior high or high school cafeteria, something.
That'd be a good,
yeah.
yeah, cafeteria would be a good place.
Junior high, high school.
Just
we
Alice,
can-
you still have the list that had the categories on it. I don't know,
I got it right here.
does everyone need another copy of that to think of the categories? It might be good just to send that out.
Okay.
I would have assumed it, well, I would have assumed you all had lists already, but I guess we've been busy.
He's been calculating how fast the scrubber
We want to
goes.
send the invitations next week.
Next week.
So this, we need to get
Correct.
everything from you tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
was in a-
Monday,
it
something
was in a
like that
board
would be
update.
great. We can move quickly once.
Because we
Not
contacted.
that anybody reads my board.
He's in the
You
We
send
go
these
through,
back.
okay,
He sends the invitation.
here's the number that we need of parents, here's the number that we need. And it will be important for someone to take a good look and make sure that we're having a nice balance too. Active parent, not just kind of fans and people who always have questions, but, people who've been parents a long time and new parents, those kinds of things. So those are things we won't know, but we'll start doing it at random, and you can say, those are all long-term parents, we could use some new ones. Fair enough.
Very good.
Great.
I'm excited.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Safe
Ken.
trip home.